Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs, where we show you how to build a successful business and to have a life too. We're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time and to get off the treadmill so we can experience a life of significance. And now, your host and the author of the #1 best-selling business book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, Chuck Blakeman.
Hi, Chuck Blakeman here. Great to be back with you. Today we're going to talk about, is there a business maturity clock ticking in your head? Part 2. In our last podcast, we described the business maturity date and how to pick one. In this podcast, we will clarify some of that and add some wisdom and experience many of us have learned in the process. Let's talk first about one possible measure of freedom at business maturity, what I call the 50% rule. As the leader in your business, you need to stop managing and start leading. See my book, Rehumanizing the Workplace, by giving everybody their brain back. To move from manager to leader, you need a minimum of 50% of your workday free to lead, which in my experience focuses on 3 things: guard the values, champion the people, and pilot the results. We'll do podcasts on all of these at a later date. You don't have to get to 50% at your BMD. Remember, scary for you is different than scary for me, but you do have to get there as part of your ideal lifestyle. Every founder, owner, and CEO should have, in my opinion, a minimum of 50% of their time free to lead, not manage. So what do I mean by this? A minimum of 50% of your time should be 2 things: unscheduled, and that's the easy part. A lot of people are unscheduled and they just sit around waiting for things to come to them. But B, A is unscheduled, and B is unavailable to solve crises. That's the tough one. If your day is unscheduled, but you spend it solving the tyranny of the urgent crises that are coming at you, you're not free and you're not leading. So both A and B are important. But at your business maturity date, maybe you shoot for 20%, not 50%. Just one day a week where you are leading your business from a position of freedom on Mondays or Fridays or 2 afternoons a week that are unscheduled and unavailable to the business. Good place to start for a business maturity date. Today, I now have 58.5% of my work year unscheduled and unavailable for solving crises. And with weekends, 70% of the total year free to choose what to do on those days. I only have things scheduled 3 days a week and have increased my unscheduled weeks from 12 to 16 a year. So let's eat this elephant one bite at a time. If your BMD is 3 years out and you want to have 30% of your time unscheduled and unavailable on that date, then get 10% of it this year and 20% next year. It's doable. Be intentional, be normal, not average. I'm torturing you with these details for a very important reason. Don't pick a business maturity date by the seat of your pants. It's much too important. It's as important as any decision you will ever make in business, and you shouldn't do it lightly. This is not a willy-nilly, knee-jerk decision. If you pay attention to it, it will change your life. If you don't, it will be just another feel-good moment as you parent a business that refuses to grow up and is ruled by the tyranny of the urgent. So set aside an hour soon after listening to this podcast to paint your picture of business maturity. And remember, business maturity isn't defined by what the business looks like, but by the lifestyle it provides you. Here's 5 steps I've found and others have found you'll need to take to produce a great lifestyle from your business. Number 1, know your lifetime goals. We'll talk about that in a later podcast. What are you doing this for? To what end? Remember, making money is not an empowering vision, especially during those periods when making it is extremely tough. We'll figure out how to set lifetime goals in a future podcast, and we have online resources that make this a self-guided process for you as well. Secondly, calculate the time and money required to create the ideal lifestyle for living out those lifetime goals. Do you continue to work or do you devote your time to something else? What kind of house is best? How much travel will you need? How much time and money do you need to live out your ideal lifestyle? Thirdly, decide when you want to be at that ideal lifestyle. It will likely be years after your BMD, although some people set both their BMD and their ideal lifestyle at the same date. I couldn't do that. That was too much for me. Having a date for your ideal lifestyle will help you know more clearly what you need to shoot for on your business maturity date. So get the ideal lifestyle, date, and time figured out, and how much money and time you'll need, and then back into something less than that for your BMD. So number 4 is then pick your BMD. Again, usually a few years before your ideal lifestyle, and as a partial expression of your ideal lifestyle, not as much time and money as you want, but more than you have now. And then 5, develop a very simple plan, first to get to your stage 5 BMD, then to your ideal lifestyle. I use a simple 2-page strategic plan to run my business on a daily basis, which is also the subject of future podcasts. Most of our clients have found it works very well for them to do it this way. Okay, your BMD doesn't have to be derived from a tortured business analysis. It can be your birthday or the 5th anniversary of the day you went into business. But have a good justification for why you picked that day, that year, that month, that hour. Jan Rodine, who owns an emergency medical clinic, picked her deceased father's birthday 3 years down the road because her dad was a great business owner and she wanted to honor him by arriving at business maturity on his birthday. I picked 4 years to the day from when I held my first business activity. Choose what motivates and energizes you. You'll know when you have a good enough picture when your excitement level for getting there has gone way up. And remember, the objective of a business maturity date is not to figure out the process of getting there, but simply where there is and when you want to be there. Find your destination, figure out the first steps, and get your ship moving. So let's address the elephant in the room. What if I don't make it? The craziest backwards logic is at play here. I'm afraid of not making my stage 5 business maturity date, so I'm not going to try. This is tortured thinking and unfortunately very common. I'm not going to give you 10 motivational reasons for getting beyond it. I found in years of working with people that this is one of the favorite places business owners like to hide. As long as I don't make a decision, put a date on it, and go public, I don't have any worry about failing. As we mentioned before, this form of being professionally confused sounds like this. When I'm confused, I'm not responsible. But be reminded that not making a decision is by default a decision. As the wise old saying goes, a man or a woman still finds their destiny on the path they chose to avoid it. I can tell you with 100% certainty that you will fail to get to your business maturity date if you do not set one, go public, and get after it. I had a much better chance of getting to my business maturity date than not because I was working with intentionality to get there. If you don't want to fail, you've already chosen to if you decided not to try. A principle that helped me and maybe will help you is this. Fear the probable, not the possible. Fear what is probably going to happen, not what might happen. If my business had not been an early stage mature business, mixed stage 5, 6, 7 on Friday, February 18, 2011 at 10 a.m., would I have failed? No. I would have had an incredibly rewarding journey that I would not have had if I hadn't tried. If it took me an extra 6 months or a year to get there, then I would have still made it from average to normal only because I tried. If I hadn't tried, I'd have been doomed to live out the stage 4 stability treadmill guy nightmare that 95% of all businesses have resigned themselves to. That is certain failure, and that is definitely something to fear. And remember as you go through this process that close but no cigar is actually close enough. When we celebrated our team sipping mimosas that morning before heading out to New Zealand, I figured we were only about 70% of the way to where I wanted to be as an early stage business before I left on that day. But I also believed that we were close enough that even if some bad stuff happened while we were gone, it wouldn't crater the business. As it turns out, when we returned 4 weeks later, we were really surprised to see that we were probably 90% of the way there. As I recounted this 70 versus 90% story in Ireland a few years later, I asked the audience what they thought happened to move me from 70 to 90%. With classic Irish humor, a woman shouted out, "You came back too soon." She was exactly right, because when we left and got out of the way, people stepped up in ways they couldn't when I was there, even if I had wanted them to. We cast a very large shadow on our businesses, whether we know it or not. One of the best ways to help your business grow up is to train someone else to do something, then leave and see what happens. Let me say that again. Leave, get out of the way, leave for a day, then for a few days, and then gradually for a week, and then gradually for 2 weeks, and then for 4. Along with freedom mapping, which we cover in some future podcasts, leaving is one of the best techniques you can employ to get your business to make money when you are not around. Leave. To wrap up, fear the probable, not the possible. It's possible you won't make your business maturity date on the first try, but your failure is much more probable if you don't try. As Yoda says in The Empire Strikes Back, do or do not, there is no try. And finally, a reminder to go public. After you've decided to grow a mature business and you've set a business maturity date, don't forget to go as public as you can. Tell everyone. Get hold of us at 3to5club.com and see if there is a 3 to 5 club in your area. Or check with us to see if you've got the stuff to be a facilitator and own your own 3 to 5 clubs. Put your business maturity date on your wall, in your wallet, on the dashboard of your car, as a screensaver and a countdown saver. Find 4 to 5 other crazy business owners who will do it with you and meet with them monthly to figure out how to push each other forward. This is business, life, and death. Let's treat it that way. The coming podcast will give you more concrete help to turn your vision into reality. Keep going.
That wraps up another episode of the Get Off the Treadmill podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button to ensure you are receiving the latest tools you need to grow your business and to get off the treadmill. If you want more information on the 3 to 5 Club, the Crankset Group, or to book Chuck as a business advisor, speaker, or workshop leader, you can contact us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.